Kirby good. Based on what I've uploaded on my channel, it's pretty clear that I like Kirby. A lot. But something that I get asked a lot is, why Kirby? Why love Kirby so much? Is it because of Smash? There are a lot of reasons why I love Kirby as much as I do. And while I'd love to go on and on for hours about the topic, the YouTube algorithm doesn't really like long videos, so we're gonna have to narrow down the points here. And, well, there's really no better place to start than at the very beginning with Kirby's Dream Land. Everything that makes Kirby as great as it is can really be traced back to the very first game, with all of its strengths being expanded and improved in later games. Kirby's Dream Land was made to be a very simple game. Not that the development was simple, mind you, the game was made with a trackball of all things, but from the speed of the game to the way it controls, it was all meant to be simple. There's a lot of small, advanced techniques for more veteran players to sink their teeth into, but everything about the game is made in a way for a complete beginner to be able to understand. This applies to every aspect of the game, even the story. It's the perfect, quote-unquote, first game story, with Day-to-Day stealing Dreamland's food and Kirby trying to get it back. I love how such a simple story like this makes way for some really dark twists and turns later on. The evil entity who turns dreams into nightmares, backstabbers who leave Kirby to die in space, giant bleeding eyes. Really all of Kirby 64 when you think about it. Parallel universes, dark gods, the undead, parasitic objects that render their hosts soulless, oppression, machines that can corrupt the mind and ultimately erase the existence of a father who wants to see his missing daughter again, and of course, the simplicity doesn't just extend to the stories though. The characters themselves are all designed to be simple. Of course, we all know Kirby's current design was meant to be a placeholder, and they just wound up loving that placeholder so much that they stuck with it, making Kirby not only very easy to recognize, but also very, very easy for kids to draw. And I don't know, I think that's really cute, looking out for the kids. And I have less artistic talent than the average child, and even I can draw something that resembles Kirby. Somewhat resembles him. Stop making fun of me! What the designers themselves do with Kirby in every game goes way beyond simple doodles, though. Every character, even characters that are shaped the same way, all have unique expressions and designs, with their own identity, regardless of whether we're using 2D sprites or 3D models. Since the very beginning, the series has been very consistent with a really strong art direction. For many of these games, it's thanks to them releasing late in a console's life. The devs have a lot of knowledge on how this hardware works, so they're allowed to use a lot of shortcuts, tips and tricks to help make the games look a lot better, run a lot better, and just leave a very positive impression on a visual scale. Or you could say they're optimized. No, we're not at the gameplay just yet. If you want to talk about how well optimized the visuals for Kirby games are, again, going back to Dream Land, the Kirby dance is not even a dance. These are just reused sprites from other areas in the game thrown together to look like a dance. But look at him. He's dancing. It's the Kirby dance. Can't tell me he's not dancing. Kirby's dancing. He's dancing. He's dancing! And you know what happens when Kirby dances? Alright, I'm going to keep this segment very, very brief, just because music is so subjective, but as far as Kirby music goes, oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. What matters the most with Kirby music is that in every game, the music fits what it's supposed to fit. But the music is really just so much more than that. The variety in both the styles and the instrumentation in this franchise is so impressive. And despite having listened to Kirby music for years, I'm still not tired of it. I mean, really, you have your happy tracks. sad tracks. Intense tracks. Calming tracks. Dark tracks. Entire emotional spectrum is covered with Kirby music. You even have games like Planet Robobot that use one specific style of music to reflect the game itself, but it still manages to have all this variety, and all the tracks are unique and they stand out. And if that's not enough, Kirby's home to some of the most iconic pieces of gaming music. You've got Green Green's Day-to-Day's theme, Gourmet Race, the Marks fight, Crowned. Duh. But enough beating around the bush. As valid as all of these points are, the reason why I'm so hopelessly addicted to Kirby is, of course, say it with me now, because of the gameplay. Oh boy. Alright, here we go. I mentioned before that the series is designed for beginners, and while that's true, it doesn't mean that the devs don't keep their eyes open for the more seasoned player also. Every game may have a simple control scheme, but they're all made in a way that allows for a lot of, I'm gonna borrow this word from before, optimization. Of course, we can talk speedruns, challenge runs, even things you wouldn't expect like combos, but even on a basic fundamental level of understanding, things like the extra modes and boss rushes in these games exist to give players a challenge that they might have been missing from the normal mode. Kirby's unique in how his main method of attack is tied to a single button. Many games either have multiple different action buttons, or one action button that requires a lot more practice to really get a good hold of. Think of Mario's jump. But Kirby's inhale is not only easy to understand, but it's also really easy to use very effectively. This means you spend a lot less time pressing a bunch of different buttons or practicing a certain button until you can really get it just right, and a lot more time actually using this action and optimizing it, and more time testing ways that you can use this action to your advantage. And look, I have no problem with these other two ways of going about it. Jumping in Mario is always fun, and I love games like Devil May Cry, I don't know, but I just really like that Kirby's inhale has so many practical uses. I feel like I find new applications for it in every single game, or simple tricks that just help speed up the process. For example, in most games, if you wait until you're really close to an enemy to inhale them, it actually lessens the amount of time it takes for Kirby to inhale them. Everything that works about Kirby on a fundamental level, and this idea of the inhale being tied to one button so that not only beginners can understand it easy, but more seasoned players can spend a lot of time experimenting it and finding applications for it easy, was established from the very beginning in Kirby's Dream Land. The games that followed simply took Dreamland's ideas and expanded on them and made them better. And in a lot of cases, it really made for some unforgettable games. Kirby's Adventure took the basic ideas of Kirby's Dream Land and simply added the copy abilities and a much grander scale to them. Dreamland 2 took Kirby's copy abilities and added another layer to it with the friend ability mixing stuff. Following, Superstar took a much more action-heavy approach and put much more emphasis on what you can do with every copy ability. Dreamland 3 toned down what Superstar did and expanded on the calmer approach to the Kirby series, etc., etc. Every game in the franchise uses the previous games as a guideline, but always does something to make them completely different from the last. Because this franchise had such a strong start, and every game knows which part of the formula to tweak when it comes time for a new one, the series has been remarkably consistent. I don't mind franchises having bad games or anything. I am a big Sonic fan myself. But at worst, Kirby games are still pretty good. There are some spin-offs that are simply average, yeah, but still I wouldn't really say any of them are bad. Now, this is especially impressive when you realize that Kirby is a franchise that has over 30 games. Yeah, 30! I remember going on Wikipedia during class in high school, because I was rebel, and seeing that Kirby had just hit his 20th game. This series is still going strong, and you know what? I really couldn't be happier about that. This script really took me a very long time to make. It's hard to put into words exactly why I love Kirby so much. Plus, I had to fit it for the YouTube algorithm. And there are still so many points that I didn't get to talk about today. On my channel, I talk about Kirby optimization a lot. How to optimize Kirby play, how to use the tools given to you in each game in the best way possible, take some of those tools away and see what your best options are after that. Like a challenge run. If you're interested in those, most of my videos are Kirby related. But on the whole, if you were to ask me why I love Kirby so much in one sentence, I'd just have to say, Kirby good.